on Modern and Massive here by Get Good Drums, we actually have a sample that sounds like this, which is really, really useful. So I've actually accented where I want the hard right hand to fall in that roll, and it sounds like this. That sounds way more real than this. In this video, I want to go through 3 tips to nailing your programmed drums in pop punk and avoiding 3 things that I feel can be a dead giveaway that you programmed your drums and it's not a real drummer on the track. I know we've all seen loads of videos on how to program drums, so instead I want to focus on 3 typical drum parts that are pop punk and rock specific. And just quickly, if you make pop punk, emo or similar music and you want me to mix your next release, then head over to terrybeckleyrecording.com and message me via the contact form. I will get back to you. Let's get into it. So the first thing on my list of dead giveaways that your pop punk drums are programmed are snare rolls. I find that logically you think you're going to lower all the velocities down so that you can roll like a real drummer would on the snare and then build them up, as you can see I've got here. They get darker and darker as the velocities go up towards the crescendo. I've even, as you can see, put the right hand to be stronger than the left hand as it increases, and you think, yeah, that makes sense. But the problem is that it sounds like this. And that's not really how they sound. So to get around that, on Modern and Massive here by Get Good Drums, we actually have a sample that sounds like this, which is really, really useful. What I actually do is I crescendo this with the velocities, as you can see here, and then this is the actual snare sample here. So I've actually accented where I want the hard right hand to fall in that roll. And as you can see, they get harder as they go on, and it sounds like this. That sounds way more real than this. So let me just reiterate that. You've got this sample here, which is almost like a ghost note of a snare. And then we accent with the right hand, when the right hand would be hitting harder, assuming the drummer's right-handed. You actually program the snare as normal here, where those accents fall. Okay, so the second dead giveaway that I'd like to address is how the cymbals are programmed. So what I've got here is the crash cymbal. And I think it makes sense to guitarists like me or people that aren't actually drummers. You think about the crash hitting for choruses and stuff, so it sounds like this. But the problem I have with that, and why I think it's a dead giveaway, is it's all the crash in the left speaker or the left channel, and it's just hitting one crash. And that's not really how drummers play. I'm sure all the drummers out there already know this. So what I do instead is whenever you're not hitting the snare at the beginning of a bar, or whenever you want a big impact at the beginning of a bar and you have 2 free hands, so your snare isn't being hit or a tom or anything, I like to do the right crash and the left crash at the same time. And then think about that left and right channel, one crash in the right channel, one crash in the left, and alternate with right and left hands as a drummer would do. That it sounds like this. That's far more interesting and real sounding than the straight crash that we had before. An important note is for cymbals I actually use drum forge. The reason being is that the first 3 crashes are panned to the left, and the crashes 4, 5 and 6 will be in the right channel. And that's obviously consistent with the overhead and room tracks that come out of this plugin. So just like the snare roll one, GGD, Modern and Massive, I would use a drum sampler that has that snare ghost note in there. And then I think GGD does actually have this with the cymbals as well, where some of the crashes will be mostly in the left channel and some in the right channel, that you can get that variation between the left and right. It is important to pick a decent sampler. I'm sure most of the main ones do this, but pay attention when you're picking your cymbals to make sure that one of your crashes is left and one of your crashes is right. Then lastly, hi-hats. Hi-hats are obviously really dynamic and there's a lot of articulation. So I just wanted to pick up on something that I think is a dead giveaway of a programmed hi-hat. And that is this. When you've got the open hats, you can be quite dynamic with the velocities like I have done here. Still think this sounds fake. Whenever I've played in a band and seen or recorded drummers, there's always like an an accented hit like you see here, but there's almost like a ghost note happening in between. And I think that actually gives it a bit more of a groove as well. So if you look at what I've done here, I've had these ghost notes. With GGD, this is a slightly lighter hi-hat articulation, but you could just have it here. But this makes it sound like this. And that's much more of the groove, especially in pop punk, when you have that hard hit and then like a soft ghost note. Barely noticeable, but I think when you compare the two, you can tell. So this is just the straight, no ghost notes. Feels very plod, plod, plod. There's this one. I think that captures the pop punk vibe a lot more and feels a lot more real. I'd just like to point out, at no point do I think anyone should be ashamed of using programmed drums. When I say dead giveaway, I don't mean that it's a secret. No one should know that it's a drum machine. What I mean is it's a dead giveaway because it's distracting the listeners of your music, because they can suddenly tell it's not a real drummer. It shouldn't be a distraction, but don't be ashamed to using programmed drums. I'm sure if any of you have subscribed to any of those online mixing courses where you get to mix pro records and get pro multi-tracks, you'll have had your fair share of programmed drums. They go out on commercial releases all the time. And of course, this mini-series is about getting pro records from home. So most likely you don't have the means to record a full drum kit, or if you do, you've got neighbors that aren't going to want you to do that. So programmed drums are the answer. Get making music whatever way you can. Just make sure you're making great music and releasing regularly. So thanks for watching. And if you make music like this and you want me to mix your next song, head over to terrybeckleyrecording.com. Hit me up in the contact form there. I'll get back to you. See you at the next one.